What is up, everybody? What is up? What is up? Give me just a couple seconds here. Double checking to make sure that the live stream's actually up and running. Let's see. Yeah, I think it is. Kona, what's up, dude? How are you doing, Kona? How's it going? How's everybody doing tonight? Bromus, what's up, bro? How you doing? How you doing? Are you guys able to hear me pretty well? Let me just full screen this joint. Galgox, what's up, bro? Immortal Rob, how are you doing? Another day, another Gojo versus Sukuna argument. Honestly, very true. Waste Ute, what's up, bro? Anime Monarch, what is up? What is up? What's up, everybody? What is up? Bear Bros, how's it going? You guys can all hear me? Everything's good? Epic, epic. Okay, guys. What's up, everybody? It's Lilo. Today we're going to be talking about the Gojo versus Sukuna fight, but more specifically, we're going to be talking about why this debate genuinely will most likely never end. There's a couple like genuinely good reasons for that, so I'm going to be talking about that tonight. And then also I'm going to be going into detail about different things that I've learned about the I wouldn't say not even just the Jujutsu Kaisen power scaling community, but like power scaling as a whole, just from like talking about this fight with different people and making a bunch of different videos on it. There's just different insights that I've gained that I'd like to share. I think would be kind of interesting to yap about here. G Combat, how's it going, bro? Welcome to the stream, everybody. And Galgog said, so is it confirmed that Gojo lost to plot armor? Not really. So I think that's a good way to start the stream out, okay? So this statement was released by Gege at a Q&A a couple days ago, and it really shifted like the entire fandom. It validated a lot of people and changed a lot of people's perspectives on the outcome of this fight, because Gege states that Gojo, the reason he got hit by World Cutting Slash, it was not because World Cutting Slash was too fast. Gojo's actually faster than World Cutting Slash is. It was because Gojo dropped his guard and got hit by it. Okay, so, or another way you can word it is like Gojo's fast enough to avoid a fatal attack from World Cutting Slash, which is something a lot of people have been saying for a long time. Other people have been like denying that, saying no, like the World Cutting Slash teleported onto Gojo. But like Gege came out with this statement and said that. Okay, so I go much more in detail on this statement and like what it really means for the power levels between Gojo and Sukuna. In one of my earlier live streams, it was called Gojo versus Sukuna is over. So I'd recommend like watching that one if you wanted more in detail scaling on that. But just like a brief summary is what this statement proves to me is that Gojo is objectively stronger than Maguna. And in my opinion, Gojo versus Maguna is not even an interesting debate anymore. But Gojo versus Heian era Sukuna is still an interesting debate and still an ongoing debate in my opinion. But like I said, like for more of my like Gojo versus Maguna scaling, I'd recommend checking out the live stream I did called Gojo versus Sukuna is over. Now, what I wanted to talk about today is a couple different factors as to why Gojo versus Heian era Sukuna is still a very interesting debate and why, in my opinion, I don't think it'll ever actually end. So the reality is there's a few unknown elements about the fight between Gojo and Heian era Sukuna that to this day have not been answered. So here's something to think about. Before Gege released this statement, he just released a statement a few days ago, and the chapter where Sukuna chopped Gojo in half, 236, that came out like a little bit more than a year ago. Okay, so for that entire time frame, we had no objective answer as to why Gojo got chopped in half. And what started happening was the fandom started making things up, answering the question for Gege with their best guess. People like I said earlier, people were saying, "Oh, it was so fast that it teleported onto Gojo," or "Gojo can't see the world cutting slash," or things like that. But a year and a half, like a little bit more than a year later, Gege came out and just disproved all of those statements. Okay. Now, in a similar fashion, there's a few other things that have not been explained yet that make Gojo versus Heian era Sukuna an unknown. So, here's one. We don't know if Sukuna was getting stronger during the 1,000 years that he was a cursed object. He might have been refining his technique for 1,000 years. And if that's the case, you could make an argument that Sukuna might lose domain clashes. The Heian era Sukuna might lose domain clashes. Because one thing to keep in mind is like domains clash if they are equally refined. And if Sukuna was refining his technique over 1,000 years, like just becoming a more refined sorcerer, then that would just logically mean Heian era Sukuna would be less refined. And if they domain clash, Gojo might just overwrite his domain and just win. It's an unknown. The reason why I'm saying it's an unknown is because there's a couple different characters that like actually kind of did something like that. So Choso, he was a cursed womb. He was a cursed womb for 150 years. And while he was a cursed womb, he was refining his curse technique during that entire time. That's why like his piercing blood was so powerful. It's because he was refining it for 150 years as a cursed womb, like before he could even like walk around or do anything. But Sukuna was a cursed object. Incarnated sorcerers are a little bit different than like the cursed wombs. An example of another incarnated sorcerer is Ryu. And then there's this statement where it says that Ryu's eyes expressed over 400 years of hunger and thirst. So this could just be for like dramatic effect, like the narrator just being dramatic and like over exaggerating things. That's possible. But there is a possibility that like Ryu was actually conscious during the 400 years that he was a cursed tool, like waiting to be incarnated. Another thing that's interesting is like characters can sometimes just like chill in their own innate domain. Like this is Kashimo in his like own innate domain, like yapping with Sukuna before he gets killed. Panda also has a moment like this where he's in his own like innate domain, like his own like void where he can just kind of chill, and he's having an interaction with his other soul cores. Like different characters, even ones without domain expansions, have displayed that they have like an innate domain where they're like sentient, experiencing things, but it seems to be like separate from the actual world. It's possible that like when an incarnated sorcerer is not like in a vessel yet, like for example the 1,000 years where Sukuna wasn't did not have a vessel, he was just cursed fingers. He might have been in an innate domain like this, just like refining his technique. It's possible, but it's unknown. You know, it's more just kind of like a theory, an unknown. It's genuinely just an unknown. So yeah, I mean that's an area where it makes you wonder, like, did Sukuna actually get stronger during those 1,000 years, or is the Sukuna that we see now the exact same power level as the Sukuna we saw in the Heian era? It's really unknown. It's a debatable thing because we don't have a concrete answer to it. The same way we didn't have a concrete answer to why did Gojo not dodge the world cutting slash, and now Gege added a little bit more detail, and now we have like more information on it. It's that exact same thing. We don't know for certain yet, like what Sukuna was experiencing during those 1,000 years. So it's an unknown. I'm not saying that Sukuna was in an innate domain just like getting stronger for certain, but I'm saying that it's unknown. Okay, so if he was, then that's a big advantage to Gojo, because like that would make him a lot stronger than Heian era Sukuna. But if he wasn't, then it doesn't change too much. Another thing, this one, I don't actually think this is the case. I'm pretty sure, I'm very confident Sukuna had a open barrier domain in the past too, like in the Heian era, like very, very confident, especially like when they show Sukuna use his domain for the first time in Shibuya. It seems like they're saying like this is something that he's had for a while, but it's interesting. Like, I want to know, when exactly did Sukuna develop an open barrier domain? I just want to get like a Heian era Sukuna flashback, really, because I don't think, like, for example, Sukuna's first domain expansion, I don't think that one was an open barrier. I think he started with a closed barrier domain and then evolved it into an open barrier domain. So it's like, if you say Gojo versus Heian era Sukuna, there's definitely versions of Heian era Sukuna that Gojo would like destroy. So yeah, because I don't think he always had an open barrier domain, but we just are missing some information about the Heian era, and I'd like to see a flashback on it. Anyway, and then there's this other thing here too. Something like, I've spoken about this in previous videos. The concept that like Gojo could have teleported out of the open barrier domain. I've spoken about this in more detail in previous streams, but there's like some confusion over this. Like, I've seen people say, I read a comment earlier today where it said something like, the comment said, I get so annoyed with people saying that Gojo could just teleport out of the open barrier domain because there's literally a panel that says he couldn't. That was a comment that I saw. It had like 300 likes. This is the panel that says Gojo could not teleport out of the open barrier domain. The problem is that person like either ignored or forgot all of the context behind the scene and just left it at that. The context is right here. It's where Hikari, right here, he's saying Malevolent Shrine's maximum range is about the size of Shibuya. Then Gojo should be able to get away. Like, that's telling you that Gojo's maximum teleportation range is larger than like the size of Shibuya. Then Kusakabe, one of the smartest people in the entire series, he says, no, the reason Gojo can't do that is because Gojo's domain was just destroyed. So he can't use his curse technique for a while. That's all he says. The reason why Gojo cannot teleport is because he domain clashed instead, had his domain broken, and could not use curse techniques. He doesn't say, oh no, he can't do it while taking damage. He doesn't say, oh no, he can't do it because his range isn't big enough. He doesn't say that. He says the reason why he could not teleport was because he chose to domain clash, got his domain broken, and then he could not use curse techniques. That's what he's saying. Like, while your curse technique's burnt out, you can't just use curse techniques. But then immediately after this, Gojo uses reverse curse technique, replenishes his curse technique, and then he actually could teleport out again if he chose to. Another counter argument to this I've seen is like, there is a like bit of information Gege put at the end of like one of the early chapters where he said teleportation has some conditions Gojo needs to be able to do it, but we never get an explanation on like what those conditions are. And we see Gojo teleport in literally just about every fight he's ever had. He teleports against Toji, he teleports against Jogo, and he even teleports against Sukuna in their first fight. He teleports all the time. So it's like we didn't actually get like a detailed explanation as to why Gojo didn't just teleport out of the open barrier domains. The same way we didn't get an explanation as to why Gojo didn't get chopped, like why Gojo didn't dodge World Cutting Slash in the beginning. Maybe in the future we'll get more information, but as of right now, it's just another unknown. So like, for people who are saying like, oh, that's a dumb argument, you shouldn't use that argument. The truth is, it's a very good argument, because from everything we've seen, Gojo 100% is capable of just teleporting out of the open barrier domains. We literally saw him tank Sukuna's full power domain without having any curse techniques to defend himself. Like, if he had just let Sukuna open his domain, and then just use his reverse curse technique to heal himself, he could just teleport out right then. Tank Malevolent Shrine for 1 second and then just teleport out. Should be able to do that. He tanked Malevolent Shrine with no curse techniques to protect himself. Gojo with his curse techniques is stronger than he is without his curse techniques, right? He should be able to tank it just the same and teleport out. But so that's something there too. Yeah, so now I just wanted to get into just general yapping about this fight and why it's closer than like a lot of people actually think, okay? So Gojo versus Heian Era Sukuna, the real reason why that fight will never end, other than there just being unknown aspects to it, is that these characters are so close in power that they both have win conditions over each other. They both have genuine win conditions over each other. So, for example, Heian Era Sukuna, here's just straight up, if I'm just giving you guys a scale for how powerful I think the characters actually are. If Heian Era Sukuna is a 100, I think Gojo is a 99, and I think Maguna's like a 98, maybe 97. I think Gojo's objectively stronger than Maguna, and I did a whole live stream on that. And I think that Heian Era Sukuna is slightly more likely to win than Gojo is if they fight with no plans, no prep time whatsoever. And the main reason I say that is because Heian Era Sukuna has an open barrier domain and Gojo does not. And did I put the panel in here for that? Bruh, I didn't put the panel in. My fault. So I knew I was missing a panel. One panel I'm missing, guys, is Gojo not having an open barrier domain is kind of weird, to be honest. Because Kenjaku has an open barrier domain. That was a panel I was missing. I thought I had it right here, but I don't. Kenjaku has an open barrier domain, and he's absolute fodder compared to Gojo. And we don't really get an explanation as to why Gojo doesn't have one. It's just kind of something he just doesn't have, and we don't know why. And it's like, I've seen people say, well, it's because Kenjaku's more skilled. But that is hard for me to believe, because Gojo's doing things that just seem impossible to all the other sorcerers there. And he's doing them with ease. Another thing is that Gojo uses reverse curse technique to replenish his curse technique. That's something that Sukuna hadn't even thought of. Like, Sukuna lived his whole life in the Heian era, fought all these crazy battles, might have had consciousness throughout those 1,000 years, and still never thought of using reverse curse technique to replenish his curse technique. Okay? Yet, Kenjaku has an open barrier domain, Sukuna has an open barrier domain, and Gojo doesn't. And I don't know if anywhere in the series they like specifically explain why Gojo doesn't have an open barrier domain. It's just kind of another thing that's just kind of weird. So it's another thing that's kind of just left open. But my stance on like Gojo versus Heian Era Sukuna, I think if they were to fight with no plan, they both have win conditions over each other. Like, Gojo's win condition is he's a stronger fighter outside of the domain clash. That's pretty much very cut and dry. Like, if you're just the fact that he beat Maguna with one arm while he was 3v1 boxing him. He was fighting Sukuna, Maharaga, and the Fused 10 Shadow Beast all at the same time, and Gojo had one arm and he still beat all three of them. Like, it ended up like this. That is such an impressive power scaling feat. It's very hard to argue that Heian Era Sukuna would be better at hand-to-hand combat than Gojo. It's very hard to argue that when Gojo's pulling off feats like that with one arm. So my stance on it, I lean more towards Gojo being the stronger fighter outside of domain clashes, but Heian era Sukuna is stronger inside of domain clashes because of the open barrier domain. That is his biggest advantage. Because with his open barrier domain, he can like choose whether to break Gojo's domain from the outside or break Gojo's domain from the inside. He can just choose one or the other. It takes about 3 minutes for him to do it, but he can do it. And to be honest, in my opinion, I just wish I wish there was a better explanation as to why Gojo doesn't have an open barrier domain. It seems so weird to me. I can't really wrap my head around that. Because this is a guy who's just like the biggest talent in the verse. Why does he not have one? I just don't personally understand that. And I'd like to get like a deeper explanation on that. I was thinking like, is there anywhere in the series where it says that Gojo's bad at barrier techniques? Because I would find that hard to believe too, because he's doing things with barriers that like the other sorcerers can't even comprehend. So, I mean, that's really Sukuna's biggest win condition, is that he has an open barrier domain and can crush Gojo's domain from the outside. And Gojo in character seems like he would just continue clashing domains and just keep fighting like that. But the counter argument to that is Gojo could still win anyway if he just teleports out of the open barrier domain and then just starts like zoning Sukuna. Like Gojo still has win conditions even against someone with an open barrier domain as strong as Heian era Sukuna. He has legitimate win conditions. And he has abilities that he didn't even use in the fight. Like these are the real reasons why the debate will never end, is because like they're both so powerful and they're both extremely close in power to the point where depending on how they fight, either one could win. I just think Heian era Sukuna in character is slightly more likely to win based on what we've seen, because for whatever reason, Gojo chose to clash with an open barrier domain. And if I'm being completely honest with you, to me that seems like plot-induced stupidity. To me, I'm just being straight up honest with you, that it just seems like plot-induced stupidity. Because if you just logically think about it, why would he do that? Like, really think about it. Like, why would somebody with a closed barrier domain as powerful as Gojo, why would he clash with Sukuna's open barrier domain? Why would he do that? The only explanation you can really give is he didn't know it was an open barrier domain. That's really the only option you can give. Either he didn't know it was an open barrier domain, or he thought he would just overwrite his domain on the first clash. But let's start with the first one. If he didn't know, why did he not know? They had a whole month. Anyone, like the entire cast that watched him fight was also at Shibuya. They like were with Gojo for a month. They could have told him he had an open barrier domain. Okay, option 2. Maybe he thought it would overwrite, but after the first one, he realized, okay, they're evenly matched. Why keep doing it? Why keep challenging over and over? Why not just use the abilities in your toolkit that will get you out of the scenario and just let you zone him with purples? And like, I don't know. It's a frustrating fight to look at because there's just so many unknowns. And that's like really why the debate won't end, because there's so many unknowns. Also, it's like, why didn't Gojo use like his rapid fire purple? Like he states back when he was a teenager that he could make multiple instances of red and blue at the same time. If you combine those together, you just have multiple purples. Why did he never do that in the fight? We also see back in the Goodwill incident that he can like just spawn like multiple blues on people at one time. Why didn't he do that in the fight? A thing I've seen people say is like, there's large portions of this fight we actually didn't even see, because like the domain clashes went on for 3 minutes and we couldn't see inside of the domain barrier for a lot of that. So maybe he was doing those things in there, but it's just, there's so many unknowns in the fight that it gets kind of frustrating, really. So the real reason why Gojo versus Sukuna will never end, I mean, Gojo versus Maguna's done, in my opinion. That one's not a debate anymore. But Gojo versus Heian era Sukuna, the real reason it'll never end is because they're both extremely close in power, and there's objective unknowns. The objective unknowns is we do not know if, like, the modern era Sukuna is stronger than the previous Heian era Sukuna. There's a real possibility that the modern Sukuna is just way stronger. There's a real chance. Like, for example, if you take the statement that Gojo said at the start of the series as just a literal fact, like at the start of the series, Gojo says, for 1,000 years, Sukuna's cursed fingers have gotten stronger. If you take that as a literal fact, then current era Sukuna's way stronger, and Heian era Sukuna would just get obliterated by Gojo. If you think that Sukuna was refining his technique for 1,000 years, the same way Chozo was refining his technique for 150 years, then Gojo would probably overwrite his domain and just one-shot him. Like, he would just get obliterated. But these are unknowns, right? Yeah. But if Heian era Sukuna is the exact same strength as the one we see in the modern era, but just obviously didn't have world cutting slash, Gojo still has win conditions over him. Like, quite a few, in fact. Like, if they're fighting outside of the domains, Gojo is almost guaranteed going to win. But if they're fighting inside of the domains, Sukuna is more likely to win. But here's the other thing that's interesting to think about. Sukuna can still lose in that. Even if Gojo doesn't teleport out, Sukuna could still lose in that. Because all Gojo needs to do is damage Sukuna enough in 3 minutes. I think the exact time statement for how long Gojo could hold his domain up was like 3 minutes and 30 seconds, something like that. If Gojo hits a black flash while he's inside of the domain clash, then Gojo would most likely win the fight. These are the things people don't talk about. People act like this fight is just cut and dry and simple, but it's really not. They legitimately both have win conditions over each other. Like, if Gojo hits a black flash during their domain clash, Sukuna's going to die. Heian era Sukuna is cooked, because if he hits a black flash inside that domain clash against Heian era Sukuna and breaks Sukuna's domain first, he gets hit by Unlimited Void and is cooked. And that's just the end of the fight. He has no Maharaga to defend himself. That's just the end of the fight. So it's like, the truth is they are extremely close in power. Extremely close. That's why the debate never ends. Jet said, are we ignoring the 200% purple from the start of the battle? It really means nothing. I mean, it blew Sukuna's arms off and he instantly regenerated them. It really means nothing. Like, it did no lasting damage. It really meant nothing. It was just like the intro attack. Like, I'm not really sure why people even mention it, to be honest. It literally did nothing. Like, I don't know why people even mention it. Because it's like people want to talk about the 200% purple, but then just like want to ignore the 100 chapters of prep time Sukuna had going into the fight. That doesn't make sense to me logically. What is the point of that? Like, do you really think the 200% purple meant more than the 100 chapters of prep time Sukuna had? You do realize, like, Sukuna started planning for, like, his plan to defeat Gojo started the moment he defeated Maharaga in Shibuya. He started scheming from Shibuya for how to kill that man. You really think a 200% purple meant more than over 100 chapters of elaborate planning specifically how to kill Gojo? It didn't. It meant almost nothing compared to that planning. Especially when you look throughout the rest of the series, how having a plan is a humongous amp. That's why I say it's I made a whole other live stream on that. So if you want to debate Gojo versus Maguna, I recommend go to the video I made, the live stream I made called Gojo versus Sukuna is over. Over there, that's a better place to debate Gojo versus Maguna, because in my opinion, that debate is over. It's not even interesting to me anymore, because it's just Gojo was like considerably stronger. So it's not even that's not an interesting debate to me anymore. Gojo versus Heian era Sukuna is a very interesting debate though, because they both legitimately with no prep time, both legit have win conditions over each other. Gojo's win condition, if he fights, and like I said, we really don't know why Gojo didn't teleport outside of the open barrier domain. He literally teleports against Toji, teleports against Sukuna in their first fight, teleports against Jogo. Like he teleported from like hundreds of meters below the below sea level to in front of Kenjaku in an instant. Like, he teleports all the time. It did not really make sense why he didn't just teleport out of the open barrier domain. I've seen some people say it was just Gojo being cocky. I've seen people say Gojo just wanted to like fight like a Super Saiyan. Meanwhile, Sukuna was fighting like a tricky sorcerer. I've seen all kinds of answers. But I don't have an answer from Gege. That's the problem. That's the problem, because this answer is not even a smart one. Look at this. Look at what Kusakabe says. He's like, bro, the reason he didn't teleport was because his curse technique is burnt out right now. That's why he's not teleporting. And then like a few pages later, Gojo's curse technique is not burnt out anymore. He's still not teleporting. It's like, it's a very silly answer. It like, this was just something Gege just slid in there. And I genuinely think a lot of the fandom reads Jujutsu Kaisen fights like Dragon Ball fights. They're just looking at the cool pictures and not really thinking about the words. They're like, oh yeah, he gave me some explanation. Like, if the question is like 5 layers deep, they're like, oh, it answered the first layer. That's good enough for me. It's like, no, what about the other 4 layers, bro? Like, the other 4 layers in this is just the objective fact that Gojo teleports in literally every other fight he's ever had. Even against the same guy, he teleported against him in their first fight. And the fact that we saw that he could tank the whole domain with no curse techniques. I don't even really want to talk about that too much, because it's just an unknown, and it's kind of frustrating to talk about it because I don't know if we'll ever get an answer. Okay? Like, we had to wait a year plus to find out why Gojo didn't dodge World Cutting Slash. Okay, so, anyway, there's all that. And, let me just summarize it one more time. Like, Gojo versus Hayao or Sukuna, my stance on it. If they both fight, like, if Gojo goes into there with a plan, he's almost guaranteed going to win. If Sukuna goes in there with a plan, he's almost guaranteed going to win. But if they're both just winging it, they both have win conditions over each other, but I think Sukuna is just slightly more likely to win, maybe like 1 or 2% more likely, just because the open barrier domain is a legitimate advantage against a closed barrier domain. And why does Gojo not have an open barrier domain? I don't know. No answer to it. I genuinely think that might be some plot-induced stupidity too, because think about it like this. If Gojo knew Sukuna had an open barrier domain and he was in the prison realm, why didn't he, like, develop one while he was in there? Did he even try? Does he have any dialogue in the entire manga about, like, man, I was trying to do an open barrier domain, but it didn't work? Does he have, like, is there anything? Like, someone in the chat let me know. Someone in the chat let me know. Matthias said if he could teleport, he would. I don't think that's a good answer, man. Because, like, there's a lot of things he could have done in this fight, but he didn't do. He literally could have dodged World Cutting Slash, but didn't. Like, Gege himself just said that. There's a lot of things Gojo could have done in this fight, but just straight up didn't do. Here's another thing he could have done. Gojo can fly, Sukuna can't. Why doesn't he just fly into the sky and just zone him with all his long-range attacks? Gojo has basically infinite cursed energy. He can just fire, like, reds, blues, and purples nonstop. He can rapid-fire purples. He didn't do that. Like, there's so many things he could do that he did not do. Because I think people want to give a simple answer to this fight and simple answer to the complex questions in this manga. But the simple reality is we do not have answers from the author. The author did not give us answers to a lot of the important questions. That's why the fight debate will never end. Wait, Sukuna can fly? Oh, yeah, he can walk on the air. My fault. Then that was my mistake. Sukuna can, like, air hop. I forgot about that. My fault. But, still, there's a lot of stuff Gojo can do in the fight that he didn't. Okay, so just saying, like, if Gojo could do something, he would do something, that's not really true. There's a lot of stuff he could have done, but he just didn't do. He could have made an elaborate plan. He could have made an elaborate plan the way Sukuna did, but he did not do that. His plan was, I'm going to go in there and box and figure things out on the fly. That was his plan. He could have made an elaborate plan specifically designed to kill Sukuna, but he did not do that. He could have fought with cursed tools. He didn't do that. There's so many things he could have done. Okay. There's so many things he could have done. And like on a side note, that makes me think like, I don't think we ever even saw full potential Gojo. Because I genuinely think a full potential Gojo, if he just put his mind to it, could have developed an open barrier domain, and could have used cursed tools at the same time. For example, imagine like Gojo using blue to like passively use cursed tools, like have them levitate around him and like blast people with long range attacks while he boxes them, like, and an open barrier domain. That would be a truly broken monster. Like, I'll put it like this. If Gojo had an open barrier domain, then he beats Heian era Sukuna like 99% of the time. Like, it's almost impossible for Sukuna to win if Gojo had an open barrier domain. And, like, if I'm being completely honest, I think the real reason why Gojo doesn't have an open barrier domain is because if he did have one, there's, like, almost no way to kill him. And if you don't kill Gojo, like, the final battle has no tension. That is my actual that is my like actual thoughts on why he doesn't have one. But we don't know. We don't have an answer, okay? Okay. Now and I think I summarized my points on Gojo versus Heian era Sukuna really well. I kind of went on a few tangents, but just one more time to streamline it. They're both extremely close. Gojo versus Heian era Sukuna is extremely close. They both have win conditions over each other, but I think Heian era Sukuna is just slightly more likely to win in character than Gojo is, even though... well, and the reason I say that is because open barrier domain is an inherent advantage against the closed barrier domain. Even though Gojo could still win if he hits a black flash or if he teleports out of the domain and starts zoning, he would still have some win conditions, but I think it's just slightly more likely that Sukuna would win. But yeah, another thing to mention though is domain clashes are inherently more dangerous for Sukuna than they are for Gojo, because Gojo can tank Sukuna's entire domain and fight him at the exact same time. Sukuna cannot do the same. Like, if Sukuna's domain breaks, he is dead. But if Gojo's domain breaks, he can tank it for a while and keep fighting. Okay, so those are my takes on that. Yeah, and if they just had a fight without domain clashes, I say Gojo is much more likely to win. But with domain clashes, Sukuna's more likely to win. Heian era Sukuna. But yeah, it is so weird to me that Gojo doesn't have an open barrier domain. I don't understand why, and I wish we had an actual solid answer as to why he doesn't have that. Okay, so those are the main things I wanted to talk about with the Gojo versus Heian era Sukuna fight. And next I was going to shift gears and just talk about like different things I've learned about the power scaling in this series from just yapping about this. But before I do that, I'm going to scroll through a few of these comments because I was yapping for a bit. Let me see. I'm looking at the newest ones first. If anyone has like something specifically they wanted to ask me before I move on to the next topic, please like put @Lilo in your comment first, and I will look at it that way, because I'm just scrolling through. I see one that says @Lilo. Let's talk about Gojo's high speed movement. Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff Gojo could have done that he didn't do in the fight. Like, and that really is why this debate will never end, because like I was saying earlier, like, even though I think Heian era Sukuna is slightly more likely to win than Gojo is, that doesn't guarantee that he would win. You know, I mean, really, like, Sukuna's like one black flash away from just losing the fight. So, like, if it's in a domain clash. Well, another thing, could Heian era Sukuna use Hollow Wicker Basket to block Unlimited Void? Because Hollow Wicker Basket is stronger than Simple Domain, I'm pretty sure. Like, I don't think Simple Domain is going to save you from Unlimited Void. But I think Hollow Wicker Basket might for a moment. But, like, while you're boxing a Black Flash Gojo, and he breaks your Hollow Wicker Basket, you're cooked. Especially if, like, he's getting the upper hand on you while... Like, okay, so imagine... Like, let's imagine it for a second. Let's imagine Gojo and Heian Sukuna are in a domain clash, and they're fighting each other. And Gojo hits a Black Flash and damages Sukuna to the point where Sukuna's domain breaks. Okay? So what that means is Gojo outboxed Heian Sukuna using all 4 of his arms. Now... Heian Sukuna is down to 2 arms because he has to use Hollow Wicker Basket to keep himself safe. Gojo's just going to beat the brakes off of him. And if it's in the first, because he's going to be more impaired than he was the first time. And if it's the first, if that happens on the first domain clash, then Sukuna would not know how to replenish his curse technique with reverse curse technique because he learned that from seeing Gojo do it. And then if Gojo bathes him in Unlimited Void for a few seconds, he's immobilized and he's done. He would have no Maharaga to save himself. So it's like, you see what I'm saying? They both have win conditions. They really both have win conditions. But I just think it would be slightly more likely that if these two are boxing, I don't know. And like, the more I think about it, it really is debatable because it's like, would Sukuna even win the domain? Like, would Sukuna win the fight in the domain clash? It won't end. The debate will never end because there's just too many unknowns. There's too many elements to it. There's too many like complex powers in Jujutsu Kaisen. It's not as simple as Dragon Ball Z, where like, oh yeah, this dude's stronger, faster, so he wins. Technically, if you're scaling their strongest abilities, Gojo is technically stronger than Heian Sukuna too, because Gojo can tank Sukuna's domain for a while. Sukuna cannot tank Gojo's domain for a while. And Gojo, chapter, I think it's 255, states that Sukuna's domain plus Fuga is his ultimate attack, and that would not work on Gojo. And then we also get this confirmation from Gege that, like, Gojo can dodge his world-cutting slash as well. So it's like Gojo, like, outscales all of Sukuna's strongest attacks, but it's just the way that an open barrier domain interacts with a closed barrier domain is a massive advantage. And, yeah, and to be honest, it does frustrate me. Like, I wish we had just straight up a clear-cut answer as to why Gojo doesn't have an open barrier domain. And someone correct me if I'm wrong. Is there any statement anywhere in the manga where they straight up say, like, Gojo tried to develop an open barrier domain and could not do it in time? Because, like, I mean, I'll just be straight up honest with you. Like, that month that they had before the fight, why didn't Gojo just pour all that time into developing an open barrier domain? Like, is there any dialogue like that I missed? Is there any dialogue like that I missed? I see Son of Moses left a comment. He said, please bring up the fact that Gojo had no intel, no tool, no plan, no binding vow, no intent on killing Sukuna. Yeah, you see, it's all these things. But Son of Moses, that's a great point. But because I had stated a little earlier, I don't think Gojo versus Maguna is a debate at all. Gojo is objectively stronger than Maguna because of all these things you're saying. I'm just saying Gojo versus Heian Sukuna is still a debate just because we don't exactly know how strong Heian Sukuna would have been. And I've said it a bunch of times. He could have been like considerably weaker than the one we saw, or he could have been about the same strength. If he's weaker, then Gojo's like slapping him. Like if Heian Sukuna was getting stronger over the 1,000 years, if he was refining his technique over the 1,000 years, Gojo's slapping him. It doesn't matter that his domain's open, like Gojo would override it. It's the same reason like why Kenjaku's scared to fight Gojo. Kenjaku has an open barrier domain, but he doesn't want to fight Gojo. yeah. But if Heian Arasakuna is the exact same strength as the one we saw, and he and just doesn't have world cutting slash, then I lean towards him being like 1 or 2% more likely to beat Gojo in just a straight up fight with no plan. But if Gojo has a plan, he's going to win. If Sukuna has a plan, he's going to win. Like, that's how close they are. Okay. And then there's just the unknowns. We don't know if Heian Arasakuna is weaker than the one we saw. We don't know if yeah, we don't know that stuff. And then something else that I had said at the very beginning, there is version, like, no matter how you scale Heian Arasakuna, there's almost a 100% chance that there are versions of Heian Arasakuna. Well, no, that's kind of a stupid thing to say. What I was going to say is, like, at some point, Heian Arasakuna developed the open barrier domain. I think when he first learned domain expansion, it was a closed barrier, and then it evolved into an open barrier. If Gojo fought a closed barrier Heian Arasakuna, Gojo wins like almost 100% of the time. Because it's really the open barrier domain that's giving Heian Arasakuna the victory. Like the slight victory. But yeah, I hope that explains it. And it really does frustrate me. I wish we had like a detailed explanation as to why Gojo doesn't have an open barrier domain, because he seems like he should have one. He straight up seems like he should have one. Especially since Kenjaku had it. Like, if Sukuna was the only character that had it, then I'd be like, okay, that's just something unique about Sukuna. But it's like Kenjaku has it too. I mean, Kenjaku's been alive for 1,000 years, so maybe he developed it over 1,000 years. But we also see, like, he's kind of capped out. Like, he hasn't, I don't think he's gotten much stronger over the 1,000 years. I don't know. It's a weird thing. But here, let me read your guys' comments before I shift gears and just yap about a couple insights that I've gained from yapping about JJK a lot. Crawler said, open barrier domain probably needs a binding vow. That's very possible. It's like, you know, we needed more explanations to things, man. That's really why the debate won't end. It's just too many unknowns. Too many unknowns, bro. And I see Felexi said, nope, nothing. I think he was replying to me when I was saying, like, is there any statement about why Gojo didn't develop an open barrier domain? And he said, nope, there's nothing. You see, like stuff like that does frustrate me. Especially, like, the reason it frustrates me in this series, like, if this was Dragon Ball, I love Dragon Ball. But it would not frustrate me in Dragon Ball, because Dragon Ball is, like, notoriously known for just being a very, like, simple, happy-go-lucky series. You can just read it and not really think too deeply and enjoy it. But Jujutsu Kaisen is not that kind of series. It's like all of the fights are well known for being over-explained, and then there's just a lot of crucial details that got under-explained. So, but the beauty in that is that the debate will go on forever. But I think now we should reach a point where, like, no one, like, I don't know. I think, what I wanted to say is I don't think it's fair to say anyone debating Gojo versus Heian Arasakuna is coping, because you can literally make arguments for either one winning. Like, just in this stream, I've listed like 3 or 4 ways Gojo could win, and I listed like 3 or 4 ways. I don't even think I listed 3 or 4 ways, but Heian Arasakuna can win. And I think it's slightly more likely to, just because of the open barrier domain. And how we saw in their actual fight in the manga, Gojo was just like headfirst charging in there, even though it made no sense, really. It was kind of stupid, but... anyways, Kona said, Gojo versus Sukuna is a poor man's version of Chrollo versus Hisoka. That is actually a fact. Because Chrollo versus Hisoka doesn't have any of these problems, bruh. But, now... if anyone wants to ask me any quick questions before I shift gears, this is a good time to ask. G Combat said Sukuna domain is stronger than Gojo. I mean, I'll put it like this: if Heian Arasakuna has a closed barrier domain, Gojo wins like 9 times out of 10. Because Gojo is just a better. I'm gonna be honest, he's just like a better fighter, straight up. But Heian Arasakuna the open barrier domain is just like kind of carrying him, bro. That is really kind of how it goes. Like the open barrier domain gives him the edge. If he didn't have that, like he's losing in hand to hand for sure. His cursed tools don't even work. Well, actually, the inverted spear of heaven, we never even got to see what that does. We don't even know what that does. Like, would that bypass infinity? If it bypasses infinity, that's another possible win condition for him, maybe. But was that the name of his other cursed tool? Because he had two cursed tools. He had the lightning one, and then he had like a trident. Or no. I think the trident actually like shoots. Does it shoot water? We don't even know what the other one does, do we? And then, man, there's so many. This series kind of is the potential man manga, bro, because it has so much potential. Like, I really wish we got to see Gojo use cursed tools, bro. Like, there's so many things in this manga. Like, imagine like a true full potential Gojo, like a Gojo with a open barrier domain and like just levitating cursed tools, like blasting you with like crazy cursed tools while he's boxing you at the same time. That would be crazy. Dova said it's never even revealed what the other cursed object does. That's nuts, bro. What do you mean he never told us? We don't know at all? You're right. Inverted Spear of Heaven was what Toji had. We didn't know at all what the other one did. That's crazy to me, bro. It could be anything. Bro, this manga, man. And, you know, stuff like this was kind of why I, like, took a long break from JJK. Was just because there was just so many things that would frustrate me when I would think about it deeply. But it is just such a cool series. I like talking about it. I just keep going back to it. I don't know. Anyways, okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about, bro, was like I wanted to debate no operator on Gojo versus Sukuna. I did this post saying like I would happily debate no operator on Gojo versus Sukuna in a live stream. The reason I made that post was because I saw no operator posted this video here, the Jujutsu Kaisen problem, a serious video, and I wanted to like just really hear what he genuinely thinks about the topic, because I'll just tell you something from like a YouTuber perspective. Sometimes YouTubers will just put videos out and not even believe like what they're saying. Like sometimes YouTubers will put out a video because it's a popular thing to say, but like if you really talk to them and like really listen to them, they'll reveal like, okay, I said this in the video, but I really meant this. Or I said this in the video, but I was actually trying to say this. So I wanted to just speak to him and really get some clarity on like, what is your actual stance on Gojo versus Sukuna? Because I think if we like spoke, we would probably agree on things. Maybe. I don't know. Because I've explained my stance on it. Gojo versus Sukuna is extremely close. I have Gojo objectively over Meguna. I don't think that's a genuine argument to have. I think that's a silly argument now, to be honest. But Gojo versus Heian era Sukuna, well worth debating. And I just wanted to hear his stance, right? But you know, I kind of get it. Like I haven't heard back from him. I don't think we'll ever actually really have a debate on it. And you have to kind of think of it from like his perspective, right? Like he has like 6 times the subscribers I have. So even if he were to debate me, he wouldn't gain anything from it really in any situation. Like think of it like this. If he debates me on Gojo versus Sukuna and he just makes like a hard stance one way and quote unquote loses the debate, he gains nothing from it. Or let's say he makes a hard stance one way, quote unquote, wins the debate, he also gains nothing from it. Because my channel, in terms of subs, is way smaller than his. And most of my viewers are probably already subbed to him. He wouldn't really gain anything from it one way or the other. So that's one thing. The other thing is, it's how do I word it? So I can't say for certain if he even saw this message, but I'll tell you the odds of it. The odds of him not seeing it are low. I'll put it like that. Because like when you have so here's something about YouTube. When you have more than 10,000 subscribers and you leave a comment on a YouTuber's page or you tag them in something, that YouTuber gets a special notification. So like, for example, if you guys know the YouTuber Restless Gambler, if he comments on any of my videos or if he leaves a post or tags me in something, on my YouTube app, I get a special notification saying like, hey, this YouTuber just mentioned you. You get a special notification for it. And like, I posted this 13 hours ago. No operator posted something. Wait, hold up. Is this even updated? Hold up. Let me update this. So I posted this 14 hours ago. No operator posted this 15 hours ago. The odds that he didn't see this, it's pretty low. Okay. But he probably just like doesn't really care, which is fine. But here's my thoughts on it. It's like doing debates and doing power scaling stuff, and like just talking about Gojo versus Sukuna a bunch. It's, and I could be wrong on this, but I don't think a lot of YouTubers like view the series that they make videos on exactly the same way that I view like Hunter x Hunter, for example. Like with Hunter x Hunter, I love talking about it, and if like you guys in the chat pointed something out about Hunter x Hunter that I was wrong about, or pointed something out about it that I hadn't thought of before, I would like enjoy that, quite frankly, because it's almost like getting a new chapter in the manga to me. It's like my understanding of the series grows and like my perspective on the series changes. So I like, if you're pointing out something about Hunter x Hunter that I've never thought of and you're proving something I said wrong, I actually like wouldn't really be offended by it. I'd be like, oh, that's cool. Like, for example, Bromus has done that before. Like Bromus, he might still be in the chat. Before I was talking to him saying that I thought Gojo would low diff Meruem. But something Bromus pointed out to me is, would low diff post Rose Meruem. But something Bromus pointed out to me is like, Meruem actually can use Poof's like scale abilities in his N, and that might actually damage Gojo because it travels at light speed. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that. So when he pointed that out to me, like that was cool to me. I enjoyed that. I've also had like just random people that didn't even have YouTube channels like hop in a live stream before and like just debate me up on Hunter x Hunter stuff. Because I like that. Like I like to learn more about the series. I like that. And if you're proving something that I've said wrong, I view it as like, okay, my next video is going to be better because of that, because I'm going to add that information to my next video and it's going to be better. Right? And I don't know how other YouTubers are thinking, but the vibe I get is that other YouTubers kind of avoid that. Like, they're like, oh, if you prove me wrong on something, you're invalidating what I've done in the past. But that's not how I view Hunter x Hunter. If like you prove me wrong on something, I think my next video will be better. Like I'm going to use that new knowledge to make my next video better, but I don't know if everyone else, I don't know if other people are viewing their series in that same way. So maybe that's part of the reason why I got no response here. Maybe, who knows? But if no operator, if you ever see this, the offer's still open. We can still debate anytime you want. Because the real reason I wanted to debate you on Gojo versus Sukuna was I just genuinely wanted to see like what your actual thoughts on it are. Because I watched one of your shorts on it, and I think that like a YouTube short covering Gojo versus Sukuna is not enough time to fully explain your actual thoughts. And I was watching a little bit of his newest video, and it seemed more like just reacting to the newest news rather than like a deep analysis on the newest news. And then his newest post was kind of like an I told you so post. I I don't know what he really thinks on the fight. I don't know. It's like, from watching his videos, I genuinely don't know what his actual thoughts are on it yet, but I haven't seen that many of them. So I'm just curious. I want to know what it is, but it is what it is. It's kind of how YouTube goes. Like, if you have less subscribers than people, like, a lot of times they just straight up ignore you. It just is how it is, unfortunately. Or maybe he's just busy. You never actually know what's going on. But yeah, if you ever want to debate this, just let me know. We can still debate it. But yeah, let me scroll through some of these comments real quick. Blitz Drake said, "Why is chat gaslighting you so hard? If we listen to them, every Gojo feat is an outlier, and Sukuna fought at 1%. Thanks, Blitz Drake. I actually have not read that much of the chat because I was kind of just like trying to deeply yap. Wait, who is gaslighting me? I don't see any gaslighting. Oh, Anno said Gojo genuinely lost to Meguna. I mean, I guess so, but I mean, if you want to say that, you could say Gojo genuinely lost to the Disaster Curses and Kenjaku. Do you think the Disaster Curses and Kenjaku were stronger than Gojo too? Another thing I can say is Sukuna genuinely lost to Nobara and Yuji. Do you think Sukuna is weaker than Nobara and Yuji? I don't think that's a very strong argument, man. I do not think. Anime Monarch, you're bouncing. See you later, bro. Bromus said there's no real proof to what? Oh yeah, you guys were talking about Hunter x Hunter stuff. But yeah, guys, I just kind of wanted to yap about like why the Gojo versus Sukuna fight the debate will never really end, and just some of those insights that I've gotten about just doing YouTube for a while. Because here's another thing, bro. Like, I had said this before. This was in my video called Gojo versus Sukuna, the brutal truth. I had like debated a YouTuber much larger than myself about Gojo versus Sukuna, and I said some points. He started crashing out, and some of these newest statements refute a lot of the things he was saying to me. But I looked at his channel. He ain't said a word. He hasn't said a word about any of this new information. So like, I don't know, man. You see a lot of like patterns happen in YouTube, bro. Like, because at the end of the day, if you're wrong on something, you don't actually, like, especially in YouTube, you don't even have to admit you were wrong. You can just make another video, change the topic, and just keep going, and people don't really care that much, you know. But yeah, I'll just say this: if it comes out that, what is it? If there gets some new information released, and it turns out that this Q&A stuff turns out that was actually wrong too, then I'll make another live stream saying, well, it changed again. Something like that. Because, yeah, if I'm wrong on stuff, I like to just actually admit it. So that way I can, like, make my next video better. But not everybody does that. A lot of people, like, bro, trust me, I've had this debate with so many people on YouTube, bro. Like, the Gojo versus Sukuna debate, I think I've literally debated, like, hundreds of people. And so many people told me that the world cutting slash teleported onto Gojo, or it was too fast for Gojo, or he can't see it. And, like, almost no one who said that has came out and said, oops, I was wrong. Almost none of them. I actually can't even think of one, to be honest. Like, it's just much more common for people to just, like, ignore stuff like that when they're wrong, and then just post another video, pretend like that never happened. So yeah. But yeah, I really did want to debate No Operator, but it is what it is. If he doesn't want to debate, he doesn't have to. And at the end of the day, I'm not even a JJK YouTuber. I'm a Hunter x Hunter YouTuber who just, like, makes JJK live streams from time to time. Like, the reason I don't post JJK videos is because, like, Hunter x Hunter videos just do way better on my channel. All the experimental videos, I just do them as live streams. So, But Castle Cat God said, remember, gang, never admit you're wrong. Being wrong means you're a defective human who can never be redeemed. Wow, that's based. Yeah, bro, I don't know what it is, man. But that's something I noticed. Like, a lot of people, just in general, people tend to not admit when they're wrong. Like, even outside of YouTube, in work and school and everything. It's pretty common. Like, if people screw up, they just kind of brush it under the rug, keep it pushing. But when I make mistakes, I try my best to, like, you know, just be honest about it. Like, oops, I had that wrong. Next one will be better. But not everyone has to do that, I guess. So. But anyone have any questions? Because yeah, that was all of my main points. But I really do think it's fascinating how for more than a year plus, people were saying that Gojo could not react to World Cutting Slash, Gojo couldn't dodge it, Gojo couldn't see it, and now it got revealed, oh no, he actually could, he just was off guard, that's why he got hit by it. And like, almost everyone who is saying that is like silent as a mouse. Like, I find that fascinating. Or they're just pretending like it means nothing. But yeah, so I mean, those are all my main points, man. Blitz Drake said, Lilo, can you see my earlier comment on light, please? Your comment on light. Your earlier comment on light. You said, oh, in my humble opinion, light won't bypass infinity. In JJK 0, Yuta and Inumaki were dodging light beams from the curse Geto sent. I'll have to read JJK Volume 0 and look at that. Because it could have, like, I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to. You could be right. I just, I'm not super versed on JJK 0, so I'll have to go back and read that. Okay. Yeah, because I'm not exactly sure which scene you're referring to. Kona said, Lilo, will you make One Piece power scaling? Oh yeah, definitely. Like One Piece, that is like my most beloved series. I stepped away from making One Piece videos just because my Hunter x Hunter ones have been doing way better. But yeah, I do want to get back into One Piece power scaling just because, like, here's something I've noticed with the One Piece community. 99%, like, I'm not going to say 99%, but most One Piece videos on YouTube are not honest power scaling. They're just straight up agenda. They're just straight up, like, and a lot of people do it, like, to be funny too. Like, if you guys know JD Legend, he's actually hilarious, and he has zero intention of doing accurate power scaling. Zero. He just likes like inflaming the fan base with jokes. It's actually hilarious what he does. It's funny. But then other people will just straight up like make well edited agenda videos. So they'll just say something that's just wrong, like blatantly wrong, but they'll say it very convincingly and just make a video out of it. Like, they won't back up their claims with really any evidence. They'll just say crazy takes, make it well edited, and post it as a video. It's like there's a lot of agenda scaling in One Piece. I'm not sure why. I see more agenda scaling in One Piece than most other series, but yeah. So I will definitely make some more One Piece videos. It's just like a lot of One Piece is cut and dry. It's pretty simple because One Piece doesn't have a very so for example, the Hunter x Hunter power scaling system is very elaborate. There's many elements that go into who wins a fight in Hunter x Hunter. There's total aura capacity, there's your aura output, there's your battle experience, there's your Hatsu ability, and then it's like your raw stats, like strength and speed, all of that factors in. So when I make a Hunter x Hunter video, it's like I can talk about how each character would have various win conditions on each other, and it's fun to do that. But in One Piece, it's genuinely much more like, hey, are you stronger? Are you faster? Okay, you're going to win. Like in pre-time skip, the fights were actually more, how do I word it? The fights in pre-time skip were actually had more variables to them because people didn't have hockey. Like the main cast did not have hockey, so it would be interesting seeing how like the devil fruits matched up with each other, kind of. Like there was type matchups that mattered a lot, like how characters like Mr. 3 could stop Magellan even though he's way weaker and stuff like that. That was interesting stuff. But now in the current chapters of One Piece, it's much more just straight up about who's stronger, who's faster, because hockey is like the big equalizer in One Piece. It's like you can overcome your type disadvantage if you just have hockey, like stronger hockey. Like I mean, for example, Luffy, even if he wasn't made out of rubber now, he would just beat the daylights out of Anil. He's way faster. He would dodge everything and just one-shot him with his hockey. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of the main reason why I don't do One Piece videos now. It's just less elaborate scaling. But there are a few things I wanted to talk about. Like, I noticed the like Admiral versus Yonko agenda seems to be kind of a never-ending debate, and I could make like some live streams talking about that. Because I think a lot of people don't take into account that the admirals could still be getting stronger the same way that the normal pirates do. And like the actual way I view it is I think that, yeah, I could actually make a video on this, like power scaling the admirals. So I might not want to yap about it too much, but I think there's a difference between fleet admiral, normal admiral, and brand new admirals. Like I think there's a difference in power between Kizaru, Fujitora, and Green Bull, and I think there's a difference in power between Kizaru and Akainu and Aokiji. So there are some things I can still yap about in One Piece. Maybe this weekend we do a One Piece power scaling stream. G Combat said Admiral's greater than Yonko. Yeah, maybe I'll do a Yonko's versus Admiral stream, and we can yap about it, because I do have quite a few thoughts on that. I also wanted to power scale Sabo, and maybe Sanji as well. So yeah, there's some stuff I can yap about there. Blitz Drake said, no way 60-plus-year-old men are getting stronger. If you're only awakening your fruit post-time skip at that age, then the story makes zero sense. Well, the reason why they can still get stronger is because One Piece characters work kind of like RPG characters. They get stronger from, like, traveling the seas and gaining experience. We see a lot of examples like that. Like, a good example would be Nami. Nami started the series, was weaker than a normal fishman. And then, like, a few islands later at CP9, at Enies Lobby, she beats a CP9 member, Khalifa. And Khalifa was magnitude stronger than Arlong. So it's like, if you took the Enies Lobby Nami, she would just box Arlong and destroy him. Like, and Nami doesn't know hockey. She's not even a fighter. She just got stronger from, like, her experiences. Yeah. Another narrative theme throughout One Piece is that, like, if you have a dream that requires you to gain power and you're making progress towards your dream, you get stronger. A good example is, like, Buggy. Even Buggy's getting a little stronger. But there's actually, like, a lot of evidence that proves it. Like, Buggy says that as a kid, him and Shanks were, like, kind of neck and neck, but Shanks was always stronger. But after Roger died, he thought that Shanks was going to become the next Pirate King. And when Shanks told Buggy that he didn't want to do that, it, like, destroyed Buggy's dream. And Buggy, like, lost his dream, so he just stagnated. Meanwhile, Shanks went on and became a Yonko. But, like, then once Buggy met Luffy, and then Marineford happened, he started dreaming again and started getting a little stronger. Like, he developed the Buggy ball in his shoe. Makes him a lot stronger than he was at the very start of the series. And that's about it. Like, he hasn't made a lot of progress, but he made a little bit, like, the moment he started dreaming again. And I wouldn't be surprised if Buggy, like, the next time we see Buggy, he's slightly stronger than he was the last time we saw him. I wouldn't be surprised by that. And then, like, the most obvious example of all of them is Kobe. Kobe was fodder, and just him having a dream and like working towards it made him way stronger. But you can definitely get stronger like in your 50s. Like I don't know if there's even an age where hockey blooms stop. Like if you have hockey, your hockey blooms might never stop. And we also see that devil fruits get stronger the more you train with them. That was like verbally stated by Doflamingo as well. So like if you're using your devil fruit ability and you're getting hockey blooms, you are getting stronger. And then another example is Kaido. Kaido at like age 59 seems to be the strongest he's ever been. I think he's older than Kizaru. Yo, Lenny, what's up, bro? But all right, that is enough yapping. I think I need to do a One Piece power scaling stream. But yeah, that's enough yapping for tonight. Wait, what did Bromus say? He said warlords greater than Yonko plus admirals. Like, you mean like if all the warlords fought the Yonko and admirals together, they would actually get stomped, right? Because like the heavy hitters on the warlords is Boa, Kuma, and Mihawk. I mean, Boa just has hacks that would carry. Boa has hacks, but like even Blackbeard found, well, I'm not gonna say even Blackbeard. Blackbeard's really strong, but he found ways to counteract that. And also like someone like Shanks, I don't know if Boa would be able to like woo him, because Boa's powers don't work on Rayleigh. Like they don't work on Rayleigh, they don't work on Luffy, they don't seem to work on Jinbei. Oh, hold up. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. Like there's characters that like the moment they see Boa without even her using their powers, she's just so fine that they can't even fight her. Shanks is not one of those characters. He might just speed blitz and one-shot her, like the same way he did Kid. And then you have Mihawk, and then you have Kuma. Who did you say? Who are they fighting again? You said Yonkos and did you say Yonkos and Admirals? Wait, where was that, Bromus? I'm trying to find it. Yeah. Oh yeah, if it's Yonkos and Admirals, that's crazy. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest, like you could have Aokiji on his own could probably beat Boa and Kuma at the same time. And then there's no way Mihawk is taking all the Admirals and all the Yonko. Like Mihawk didn't even want to fight Luffy and Shanks together. He was like, Mihawk had Crocodile on his side too, and he's like, you want us to fight Straw Hat and Shanks? Are you crazy? So nah, that's not happening. But all right, guys, that's everything I wanted to yap about today. We went on much longer than I had initially planned. I thought this would be like 30 minutes, but I'm pretty sure it was far longer than that. I don't even know how much time has passed. Time is a very weird thing. But all right, guys, that's everything. And sorry for all the comments that I missed. Wait. Oh, sorry. I saw Crawler say, remember the donation. And he said he's always right. You're talking about previous donations. I thought you said I had missed one. I was like, oh no. But all right, guys, that's everything I wanted to yap about. I'll do another live stream this weekend. I'm gonna be busy tomorrow, and I think I'll be busy Saturday. But I'm gonna do another live stream this weekend, and we can yap about One Piece then. So, thank you everybody for tuning in, and don't feel bad if I missed probably a good 200 comments, and I'm very sorry about that. But I just to let you guys know, like after these streams, I watch them and like read all the comments. Like I do that almost every single stream. I go back, watch the stream, and read every single comment. Just it's something I like doing. So yeah, don't feel bad if I didn't like verbally reply to you. I will read your comment here, and if there's like some comment that you really wanted to tell me, make sure to hop into the Discord for this YouTube channel. I'll post a link to it in the description of this live stream, or you could look at like the previous live stream I did. It's in the description of that one too. But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate all the comments. I really appreciate all of you guys spending your time here, and I will see you guys on the next one.